All right, so we are live. Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us on tonight's episode of the Product Angle Show. And on today's episode, I have Anthony with us. Hey Anthony,
Hey,
how are you?
hey, Pradeep, how's it going?
Good.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here on a Friday evening. So before we get started, you've become quite popular on Twitter. So for those of us who don't know who you are, tell us who you are and what you do.
Right now I'm a student at NYU, going into my senior year. Uh, but I am a product person, I guess, to put it in obtuse terms.
Yeah.
Uh, I am currently working on a newsletter called The Product Person, where I basically I write tips in a weekly article and submit it to subscribers. And right now I have 4,300. And so that's going pretty well right now. And I'm also working on, recently started a new startup called HiKnow.
Okay.
And I'm working with two other devs. And so that's been going really well so far.
Perfect. So we'll get into each of those three products and the newsletter that you mentioned in a minute. But this is something I'd like to ask before we continue, and I've been asking all the people that have been coming on the show, is tell us something about you that we cannot Google.
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I summer 2016, I won a writers award from Columbia University.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I basically was able to do a creative writing summer program at Columbia.
Okay.
And yeah, I was in a class full of like all girls, which is like pretty cool. I was the only guy.
Right. Excellent.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing.
Fair enough. So you won this award in 2016, and I guess, did you always like creative writing, or is this something that spurred on as a result of winning that award?
No, yeah, I think I've always really liked creative writing. Like I remember being young as a kid, just there's this one distinct memory I have where I forget what grade it was, maybe like second grade, and we were being like sent to the rug for like story time or whatever. And we had just finished up a writing assignment, and I was the only one still at my desk writing my story. I think we were writing like scary stories, like horror, or maybe not scary stories, but like anything we wanted. And I was writing a horror story, and I was like so like obsessed with what I was writing that I didn't want to get up or like go to the rug or whatever. And so I think it's always been ingrained in me to like be like just create through words. And so
cool.
that naturally developed as I grew a love for creating products.
Fair enough. We're going to get to the product person because I think that's an amazing newsletter that you have. But let's start off. You're welcome. Let's start off with product checklist. How did you come about getting that idea?
The most upvoted product on Product Hunt last year was this product called the Checklist Design.
Okay.
And this product designer, George, he created this checklist for whenever he works with a client for certain UI concepts.
Okay.
And tips for himself. And I guess he sort of opened it up to everyone, and he used Webflow to create it. And I always thought like, this would be a good idea for just like, building products. And I saw that. I went about creating it myself, but then Webflow is like just like a beast to like master. And so I found out that he had his Webflow site open to be like remastered. And so I just like went and like took his site and then redid it in my own style.
Pretty much a template, you mean, and then you can redesign it. You got the foundation there as a template, and then you added your own styling and things to it.
Yeah.
Perfect. I actually like that. That's very useful, because checklists are useful if they're done correctly. And I checked out your site not too long ago before this session, and it had some really good stuff in there.
Thank you. Yeah, I really tried to. It actually took me a lot. It took me really long to make it, because I think I started it either in late December or January, and I felt like it was too hard to create, because I wasn't sure. Like in my head, I was like, oh, I have to capture all of like product development in a checklist, but that's a huge goal, and so I kind of just scoped it down.
Yeah.
And just went with having an idea, building a product, and shipping it. And like even the tips that I have there, I guess could be expanded, but I kind of just like thought about what are a few important tips that people would like to know.
Absolutely. You don't want to put too much in there. It gets overwhelming.
Yeah,
people get confused. So I think you've got a good balance there.
Thank you.
And then we move on to Chat Party. That was something that you recently launched. And the way I understood it was you could have people on the video, but there's no audio.
Yeah.
So talk me through that, because that was an interesting concept.
Yeah, like I remember, I think it started with lectures, like as we transitioned to remote classes.
Yeah.
I remember thinking like, these are pretty boring, like, because it's all like one person, one speaker, and then many listeners.
Yeah.
And I was like, how could you like what are some possible solutions to solve this like boredom situation? And I thought, what if we just removed the audio altogether? Then you'd have like everyone has an equal opportunity to speak. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't we just like create that? And so when I saw that Product Hunt was having a maker festival, I thought that would be the perfect opportunity to try and build a team around creating that. Because I think at that point I had realized that being a solo founder is cool and all, but I feel like for me personally, having a team, or I wanted to experiment with having a team, because I knew that being a solo founder was cool, but it's kind of tough to just do things on your own.
Definitely.
And so I went into the discussion forums for the Maker Festival, and I saw Gabe, a co-founder or co-creator of Chat Party.
Okay.
And he just kind of like in his like we were basically like looking for teammates, and in his post he was like XYC want to contribute to a team, and so I was just like, hey, and he was also looking to build a fun social remote app. Okay. And so I was like, oh, this guy would be perfect. So I commented, hey, here's the idea. It relates to what you want to build, and would you be down to build it? And he said, yeah. And so that's how that started.
Okay. That's actually pretty interesting, because a lot of times there's hardship, if you will, trying to find a developer or someone who's more on the technical side if you're not technical.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, you pretty well matched up with someone who's technical. So they bring the technical expertise, you're bringing the product and design expertise. So it's like a match made in heaven, if you will.
Yeah, 100%. And then we had a third co-creator, Valentine, and we followed each other we knew each other from Twitter because he subscribed to my newsletter.
Okay.
And so when I tweeted out that I was working on this idea for Chat Party and, was looking for teammates, he reached out and said, are you still looking for teammates? And I was like, I already had Gabe.
Yeah.
But so I just talked to Gabe and I said, would you be down to have another person to work on this? And he said, yeah, sure. And so, then it became the Three Musketeers, I guess.
Perfect. So how did you guys, I guess, divide the work? Who's responsible for what? Just walk us through that whole, that conversation.
Great question. So Gabe, he's a solo founder of this business called DivJoy. It's
Okay.
basically React React code based boilerplate. And so I guess it was like an obvious he would mainly focus on the coding aspect of things.
Okay.
He just uses boilerplate to start with the base
Yeah.
of everything. And Valentin is a developer, and so when he came on, we kind of just told him the stack, and he kind of had to get accustomed to working with React because he's more of a Vue.js guy.
Okay.
And so it was more so, I guess, just me keeping the mission and what the product features would be.
Yeah.
And then, communicating with them about the technical specifics of that.
Okay.
And then how that would be implemented. And then, those two guys mostly implementing the tech, and then me following along, and then, making sure things look good.
Sounds like a fun experience.
It was super cool. we built in 15 days, and so that was pretty awesome. But we basically built a Google Meet or a Zoom app in not that long of a time.
Yeah, it was pretty good, and it did pretty good on Product Hunt as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. We got a lot of usage. I think first 24 hours, 100 people used it or whatever. And so that was pretty cool.
Pretty good. So the next project or product that you're working on is called HiKnow, right?
Yeah.
So it's still not released yet. So what can you tell us about HiKnow?
So with Chat Party, after we had launched on Product Hunt, we realized that it was a toy. Basically, it was just people come into this silent chat room, and they can they see each other, but they can't talk, but they can chat in the side text window. Okay. And so we realized that we had built this thing, but is there a way for it to be more useful to the world, I guess?
Okay.
And so, we kind of just brainstormed a few ideas as to how we could pivot. And one of those, we wanted to make sure we went into a raging river market, so to speak, where it's a market that, if we go into it, it won't be too hard to fill our cups, if you understand that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if I forget how we landed on virtual concerts, but we landed on virtual concerts, and we understood that artists, musicians make most of their money from touring, but because of the pandemic, you can't really be in the you can't have performances in huge arenas anymore.
Yeah.
And so we thought, how could you fill that gap? And that's how we decided to go after that market. And so HiKnow's basically Instagram Live, but in order to watch the live stream, you'd have to pay for it. And
okay. So the idea is musicians would use your platform to connect with their audience and whoever is interested in their performance. So if I was interested in a performance from a musician, I would use HiKnow. If there's a fee or whatever the fee is, I would use the platform, pay the fee, and then be able to access the live stream from the musician.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and I guess eventually we'll definitely branch out into other markets, but right now we wanted to niche it down to just musicians because they have a hype factor to them.
Yeah,
so
I'm not sure if there may be other things out there, but I don't recall off the top of my head. So that's a pretty good niche right now. Everyone's moving online.
Yeah,
Everything's happening online. So it's good to niche it down to musicians. And have you spoken to musicians and showed them the concept or whatever you're working on? Have you had any feedback from them yet?
Yeah, I've talked to a few people, and I've talked to a few like signed artists and some that like are very protective of themselves in terms of like, why should I trust your platform?
Yeah.
And that was really good feedback because they kind of just like without telling me, they told me what exactly they wanted.
Yeah.
And so I have done a few interviews.
Okay.
But I feel like we got like a pretty good grasp on things because like we know that the demand exists. So I feel like there's no need to do hundreds of interviews. So I think the best next step is to build a basic MVP and then give it to them and then see what they do with it and then just like sculpt the products from there.
Got it. That makes sense. I mean, who would you say is your, I guess, competitor or, someone that you see in this space?
There are a few. Like I guess a bit of a backstory. So Gabe a co-creator of Chat Party had to, I guess, take a step back because he wanted to work on DivJoy.
Okay.
And so me and Valentine recruited engineer from Japan over a Google Meet.
Oh, wow.
And so that was pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
And so so these guys are really excited about the idea, and so they've been also looking up like who exists, like who should we watch out for, and there are a few. There's just one team that launched something on Product Hunt recently called Getstream.io.
Okay.
I think that's what it's called. And then there's another product called runtheworld.today, something like that.
I saw that somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, you've seen that? They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. They aren't niched down though, and that's the thing that I feel will make a difference.
Fair enough. So let's go back to how the hell did you find an engineer in Japan over Google Meet? did you know this person beforehand, or did
that's funny because how I met him was because Chat Party, when we launched, Ryan Hoover retweeted, like he posted it on Twitter, right?
Okay.
And so that got some attention to it. He compared it to like Clubhouse, but like the opposite of Clubhouse.
I think I remember that tweet.
And so underneath, in the replies, there was his product that he's working on called MDO app.
Okay.
And so he replied to it, and so then I think he replied something positive, and then I looked him up. I went to the Twitter profile, then I used the product, and it's like a virtual office product. Okay. And so I wanted to try it out, and so I signed up with my email, and I tried it out. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. I left it, and then I think hours later, he emailed me saying, I recognized your email from somewhere. You're one of the people that created a Chat Party. If you want to like collab on something in the future, then reach out.
Yeah.
Or like I am down to do that. And so I was like, okay, yeah, like for sure. Like whenever the opportunity arises, I'll definitely reach out. And so like I wasn't sure like how we collab at that point because Chat Party had just been built.
Yeah.
But then once Gabe had stepped down and Valentine said that we need another engineer to speed things up, I was like, oh, this guy might be available. And it turns out that he fits perfectly with the stack. Like he's very much excited to like work with like Vue.js and like
So do we have a release date in mind or not yet?
Mid-June.
Mid-June. That's pretty good. That's pretty quick.
No, like I think because in my head I come from like a world where it's like not come from a world, but I've recently, when I've been doing product stuff, it's been like, launch really quickly, like just put
get
it
it out
out.
there.
But then like working with these guys, they're like very seasoned, like older guys, and so it's like they know that things take time.
Yeah.
And so like I'm like learning that if you really want to build something good, you should like you don't have to like be stressed out with like building it and putting it out. And I have to also respect their time. Like that's another thing I've learned. Like working with a team, it's like you have to like have like open communication and be able to like um um respect the people that you're working with and like how they are able to contribute and stuff.
Definitely. So in terms of working with this person in Japan, I'm guessing there's a bit of synchronous communication, a bit of asynchronous communication. Talk us through how that's working out.
That's pretty good. He's pretty much working when we're asleep because Valentine's in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And that's like PT time.
Yep.
And I'm in New York, so that's Eastern time. And he when we had our like Google Meet meeting, I think it was 8 p.m. my time, and so that's 9 a.m. his time.
Okay.
So he was just waking up, and so yeah, it's like it's not too much of a problem really. Like it's actually surprising that it's not that much of a problem. Because when he wakes up, I guess I'm still up until like, or I'm still working until like maybe 10 p.m.
Yeah.
And so like we are able to talk for at least 2 or 3 hours, and then he's still up when I'm waking up.
Yeah.
And so I guess I can catch up in the morning and like talk about whatever we need to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's totally perfect because that way you've done your piece in the day. You do that little handover kind of period.
Yeah.
What's going on? Where you are? What you've done, and then he takes it over while you sleep, and then you wake up. He's done his piece, so you have another handover where you talk about what's happening, what's being done, what needs to be done, and then he'll go to sleep, and then you guys take over from there. So I like that. It's 24 hours something's being built at some point.
That's actually a really good way to look at it. Like,
it's speeding up your development time there.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's cool. But it's also like cool working with a team. Like I said before, like Wyatt, the engineer in Japan, he has a kid and he has another kid coming on the way.
Okay.
And so like it's just like just working with schedules and then like empathy and stuff like that, understanding people.
Yeah, definitely. No, that makes sense. So let's move on to the idea for the product person, because that's how I kind of like found out about you through the product person. And way back when we were allowed to go meet, we met up in Starbucks. We had some coffee. We chatted. Feels like it was forever ago.
Yeah, I know, right?
I know. So talk us through how you got the idea for the product person. Why did you want to start a newsletter?
It wasn't. I don't think I. That's a great question. So it was. It was for myself basically. Like I enjoyed reading product articles, like learning about like how to do different things, and there were so much of them, and there weren't many like exceptional ones.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to I wanted someone that would curate them and then send it to me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, maybe I should just be that person. And so before I launched the product person, I launched I launched the product person in like a string of like 3 like little launches that I did, just because like I think I did like a little marketing service like a week before.
Yeah.
I wanted to like make a bit of money. And then the week after I launched the product person, and then the week after that I launched a productized bookkeeping service.
Okay.
Because a friend of mine, like she goes to NYU Stern, and I think she did, and she's working at EY.
Okay.
And so she was always talking about how she wanted to make a little little extra money on the side, and I was like, okay, I'll help you like start something. And so we did that, but that didn't go really well because I knew nothing about like bookkeeping, and so I was kind of just like, here's a landing page, here are our bookkeepers.
Yeah.
If you need them, click the link or whatever. So that kind of, I guess, like flopped in a way. The marketing service made some money, but the product person, like I think I got like 2,000 subscribers in a day, which is like insane. Um, and so that kind of showed me that I tapped into something that I didn't realize, like other people really like would like that.
Need for it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, and then so that's how that sort of came about.
Got it. So you put it on Product Hunt, and I think you're number one product of the day when you put it on, right?
Yeah. So that was insane. That was insane too.
So talk us through, for people who want to post something on Product Hunt. I know they have their official guidelines. Talk us through what you did, your thought process. What do you think you did? This, you have an amazing newsletter that cannot be replicated because that's from you. But what, in terms of marketing, outreach, what did you do you think that helped you get to number one that other people can, potentially learn and do from what you've done?
So I think I guess the main thing is the tagline. You got to make sure that that's like super succinct and like it's kind of like, I don't know, I compare it, or in retrospect, I compare it to like a dating site or whatever. You have to be very like, because there's like a lot of products out there, and so you have to just be you have to like rise above the noise, basically.
Okay.
And so with what I did, it was like what I did was 100 plus articles to 10x your product skills. It was very like readable.
Okay.
And I know that numbers attract the eye for some reason. Like people like reading numbers.
Yeah.
So that's like a very like practical tip, I guess.
Yeah.
And another thing is personality. Like add that to the product, because I remember I changed up the site since launch.
Okay.
Not much recently, but like I changed it a bit to make it shorter. But I remember on launch day, I had like some copy on the page where I kind of like was very witty and clever and like talking to the person reading, like, you're busy. And I know you want to read the like a bunch of articles, but let me just do that for you. Like you worry about like building your business and stuff like that. And so just adding a bit of like, I guess cheekiness, if that's the right word, and personality to your product goes a long way, because it's like, as I said before, it's like, you have to rise above the noise. Like you have to like stand out in a way that's personable and relatable. And so I think that really helped. Yeah. And then also I did like, the usual rounds with like indie hackers, Reddit.
You did them obviously on the same day, right? You went into indie hackers, Reddit, and all these other different communities that you're a part of, and you added, like a little post, comment, or whatever to link back to the Product Hunt site. I
think I made like a little like launch checklist. I think the same day ones were Hacker News and Reddit. Those two I deemed like time sensitive.
Yeah.
Hacker News, or not Hacker News, Indie Hackers I did the day after.
Okay.
I think because I wasn't sure what to post, and I knew that recap posts were popular. Yeah. And so I posted a recap post of like what happened.
Okay.
Like I think I titled it like expected 100. Like I wrote a post-it note next to me saying like I only expect 100 people to like sign up, and then like so I was blown away when like over 1,500 people signed up in like 12 hours.
Yeah.
And so that's what the title was. It was like, expected 100 but got 1,500.
Another catchy title.
And so yeah, I guess so. And so like yeah,
No,
that's
no, that's awesome. I mean, honestly, not to take away anything from you, from the product person. At the end of the day, I think the product itself was really good. And the marketing and what you've done helps, but I think you've created a product that people love, people want. So kudos on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, what are some of the things that you would say you've learned, building the product person, product checklist, chat party, and building HiKnow?
So for the product checklist in particular, I learned that things are hard. Like building things are hard. It's like that took longer than it should have, I guess. Not longer than it should have, but it took a long time to create because Webflow is hard to like understand. And it took a bit of like it took some iterations. Like I had to like restart from scratch a few times.
Okay.
Getting to know like what to put on there, and so that was a big learning point. Another one was that sometimes you just have to like just ship it.
Yeah.
Like with product checklist, eventually after I got the template from George on Webflow, I tinkered with it. I had all the links that I wanted to add to the site. I had all the copy I wanted to add to it. There was one section that I didn't get to complete. It was called metrics and growth. Like okay. I didn't have stuff for it, so I kind of just like I had the button there, but I added coming soon. And so if you click the button, it just has like a GIF saying like nothing to see here. And so I was like, I'll just like launch that,
Yeah.
I haven't put it on Product Hunt because I feel like it's not ready. I mean, I could launch it, but I feel like I should wait before I do that. But I launched it on Twitter, I guess, and it got some pretty good reception.
Yeah.
So those are two things from product checklists. For the product person or chat party, I learned about teamwork.
Yeah.
That was huge because it was the first time I ever like built something with a team. Like
that's a very good learning experience.
Working
it was huge,
is amazing. It was a huge learning experience because with a team, it's kind of like you get to learn what you're really like not good at, or like what you need to improve, on. Like you learn what you're good at and what you need to improve on. Like you kind of just like sharpen blades when you work with people, and so and it allows you to like know what you should work on, like in order to help your team build the product. And so that was a good learning experience I enjoyed. And another thing with Chat Party was selling the mission.
Yeah.
Because like as you said, like find like where did I find like developers to work with? One thing I learned in retrospect is that I kind of had the idea set. I was like, Zoom, no audio. And I had a few other features and stuff, but having the mission in mind and like having it be compelling and attractive to others to like hear and listen to matters.
Yeah.
Especially if you want someone to come on the journey with you to build it. And so I think that helped, being able to sell what you're building and make compelling enough for someone else to help you with it, or not help you with it, be a co-founder of it.
Yeah.
With the product person, promoting myself was a big learning point, like learning how to promote myself well.
Yeah. It's one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah, it's super hard. It's insanely hard. And it's like you have to build like a callus to like, failing at promoting yourself. And you're gonna mess up a lot. And you gotta understand like you have to learn as quickly as possible, and not make the same mistakes again. I guess like Reddit will definitely gut check you.
Yeah, there's a fine line there, right? There's a fine
Yeah.
line between me, and what can we do for you?
Yeah, Pete, like Reddit comments will really like set you straight. And so yeah, just like really know that it's about providing value to others.
Yeah, fair enough.
More give than take, stuff like that.
Definitely. What's next for you? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna, and then I guess the last thing that I learned from the product person was building an audience.
Yeah.
I think that was a cool experience, or it is a continual cool experience being able to like do something I enjoy, and then have other like-minded people come and then want to also take part in that.
Definitely. Now you're over 4,000 subscribers, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, like 4,300.
Fair enough. That's a big deal for a shop.
Yeah. I feel like I should focus on growth more. Like I haven't been promoting the actual newsletter as much because I want to nail down the content.
Yeah.
And I think the last issue I had was really good in terms of like how I design everything.
It was really good. We had 40 different little snippets of how-tos and what's good and what's not. So that was really good.
Yeah, I think I'll try to stay in that realm, or like build off of that, and then like work on little micro products to launch on Product Hunt to attract more attention.
Fair enough. So what's next for you, in terms of products, but monetization, and you have your book coming out, right? So talk us through what's next, how you plan to monetize, and talk us through your book and where we can pre-order.
So in terms of what's next, this summer, I guess is a huge, time period.
Yeah.
It's like, going into senior year, it's a pretty terrible job market. That's an understatement.
Yeah. It's hard.
And so, so yeah, it's about building the product person audience, making that like a real asset, and then going all in with HiKnow and seeing where that goes, because that's like super exciting. That's like a real big thing that could be pretty cool to do.
Definitely.
In terms of monetization, there's this guy named Jack Butcher.
Okay.
On Twitter. The way he monetizes is pretty interesting. It's basically like he has these he had like these guides or whatever for his content type. And so the people that bought those things he put into a community.
Okay.
And so these people are guaranteed interested in that community because they bought the products.
Yeah.
And so then he eventually bundled that into content plus the community.
Okay.
And so I think that's something I'll imitate.
Got it.
And I think right now he went from $59 for the bundle to $99, and it's doing really well.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be the prime way I monetize. And I guess in terms of the book, I guess I'm not sure. Like I was gonna do it a certain way, but I'm doing it a different way.
Okay.
And so it's still gonna come out, but I'm going to do it like later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Sorry if that sounds like obscure.
No, I was in my mind. I'm thinking we're gonna talk about the book is coming out soon, and where we can go pre-order. So I was preparing myself mentally for that.
That's fine.
I'm still learning how to ask questions and host, so bear with me.
It's all a learning process. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many of these have you done so far?
This is so back in 2018, I did about 18 or 19.
Okay.
And effectively, I was too busy trying to figure out how to do everything and try and make it perfect. I released one and I scrapped 18 or 19, around about 18. So for this iteration, if you will, this live stream version, you're number 11.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How was it? This is a question I wanted to ask you. How was it?
Flipping the table here.
Yeah, a little bit. How was the end of the school year? I guess because I know you're adjunct professor.
Correct. So basically, we all had to switch over to Zoom.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of negativity online. Don't pay 30,000 or whatever to go learn on Zoom. So I kind of like did something different where it was more of the class was more of a hands-on do it. So there was, I would talk for a short period of time. My classes are 3 hours. I'm not going to sit there and talk for 3 hours. That's not going to happen. So I've bundled it differently where it was I'm going to talk for a little bit. I'm going to, give them exercises and practice together as groups and practice with me. So there was different elements. So basically it was trying to replicate that online community feel to it, where they had a place online where the students can interact and chat with each other. So during my sessions, I would talk, I would encourage them to talk among themselves, break them up into groups. They can learn from each other as well. They come back, maybe present or, whatever. So it's more of an online community kind of course as opposed to just switching over to Zoom. And, I know some people do that. I think eventually this is where it will go to, more as an online course where there's different elements, a little bit of instruction, a little bit of, group work, a little bit of, one-on-one with the students, but everybody still stay connected through like a online community platform. So I've kind of like did it differently. I did it the way I thought I would enjoy doing it. So the students so far have liked it. I still miss the interaction of being in a college, but I can't solve for physical presence. I can only try and make the experience online a useful learning experience, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I mean, did you enjoy the end of the semester, like finishing it off?
I actually enjoy teaching, because my classes are generally different. My classes are very heavy on practice by learning and learning by doing. So, the traditional classes, like you mentioned earlier, where someone talks for about 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour, whatever it is. And after a while, it gets like, you lose attention. I'm the same way. So, for those who do it that way, I think eventually they'll start realizing that it needs to be adapted, and they will adapt. But I enjoy teaching. The students tell me that they enjoy being in class with me because it's more interactive and they learn by smaller exercises as opposed to me teaching them, expecting them to memorize it and then take the test at the end. And it's just a, memorization test. Mine is more practical. Okay, so we're learning this subject. What would you be expected to do in the real world? So effectively, everything revolves around what they would be expected to do once they've graduated. And we base all the tests, we base all the exercises based on replicating those scenarios in the real world.
That's honestly that's a great, way better procedure than I think a lot of like professors are doing.
Yeah, I mean, I the way I've taught is at the beginning of the class, I always ask them, what are your expectations? Why are you taking this class? To really understand what they want to get out of it. And there are times when students have said, I really want to learn this, this, and this. There are times when students said, well, my employer is playing, so, I have to come here and hopefully get a pay rise. So I'm trying to balance between what the students want versus the criteria, the curriculum that I need to teach.
So it's like a product. You are, talking to your users.
Absolutely. That's, the first class is always to get to know the students. And, they usually expect for, me to come in and start teaching day one. And I'm like, yeah, we will teach, but maybe halfway through the class towards the end, because I really want to get to know them. What's their motivation to be in this class? Because they're paying good money to be in a class.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is that I don't want to waste that time or money that they're paying, because then they may not get a good education, but when they're out in the real world, I feel like it kind of reflects on me, right? Because if I've done exercises where students have said to me, hey, why the hell do we need to do this? This seems so boring. I really don't like it. What's the use? And 2 years later, one of the students was doing that for their day in, day out job.
Oh, wow.
And I got an email from them 2 years down the road. And they said, you know that exercise that we were doing? And I was getting really upset.
Yeah.
I do that exercise pretty much day in, day out. Now it makes sense now.
That's a great email to get. Like, how'd you feel?
I feel good, because at the end of the day, I enjoy teaching. And I think as long as students are getting value, and they're actually learning, and it's not just theoretical work, it's practical, where they can go apply it. I want to try and focus in that realm and bring it like a learning together experience, as opposed to me lecturing in front of a bunch of students. They make notes and then we have no interaction. I mean, there's a place for that if people do that, but I've always wanted to do small, hands-on practical exercises that build concepts as you go along, as opposed to, what traditionally happens.
That's smart. That's a great way of teaching.
Thank you. I've been teaching for 10 years, so I've kind of like picked up what works and what doesn't. And students tell me what they wanted at the beginning of the process. Right? If they're motivated and they want to learn, they tell me, so, and that does help. So it's not all me. I think it's a combination. I can do stuff, but the students should want to learn if they're there.
Sure.
Right? If you're spending all that money, I would hope that you would want to learn.
No, very true.
I think it's a two-way kind of street.
Very true.
Yeah, kind of fun twisting the table. Now, I was talking about you. Now we end up talking about me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No, yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Before we leave, anything you want to say?
I guess just subscribe to my newsletter, theproductperson.com.
Here, let me put it at the bottom for you. So I got this one pre-set up.
Nice.
So yours is theproductperson.com. All right. So let's save that. Put that in there, there. Theproductperson.com.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much, Anthony. Hopefully, once we're allowed to go back out, maybe we can grab, when it's safe to do so, grab another coffee or something.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, let's do that. How do you like StreamYard, by the way? Like, this is a cool little platform.
I love it. I mean, I played around with a few other platforms, and it just seems so easy to use. I can do all these little, I can put these little messages on the bottom and what have you. I got the background. I like it. I mean, it's easy. You can do screen sharing.
Is it free or is it paid? So
there is a free version and then there's a paid version. So for example, like how I have this background, that you have to pay for. So if you're okay with having, powered by StreamYard, then it's free.
Okay.
So nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've seen people do it, but I wanted to have a background. So
yeah, no, it looks good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Anthony.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Take care. Thanks.
See you.
Bye.